concerning your background. Jesse asked, do you think Goldman Sachs rules the U.S.?
Goldman Sachs rules the U.S.? No,
I
don't think Goldman Sachs rules the U.S.
No. Okay.
But Goldman Sachs, I tell you one thing, I have nothing to do with Goldman Sachs, and I can't for obvious reasons because I'm in government. But during my time there, I would give Goldman very high marks on instilling civic responsibility and public service in folks who work there, which is why I think people have the impression
people who work at Goldman Sachs do a public service.
Many of them have gone on to public service. I'm one of many examples over decades of folks.
Mario Draghi is a prominent one here.
Former partner, absolutely. And there are many other examples. And I think sometimes people get the impression that the question implies that Goldman is I think it's a much more positive reality. This is a firm, and there are many firms like that in America, but Goldman is the one I know best, which instills civic responsibility and the notion of public service in the people who work there.
And another question concerning Goldman Sachs. Roland asked, Matt Taibbi called Goldman Sachs a great vampire squid. Should Goldman Sachs return to its old mantra of long-term greed from the 70s and 80s?
Yeah, I read that article with great interest in Rolling Stone magazine.
It was a fun piece.
Well, it wasn't too fun for Goldman, I'm sure, but it was. I'm not even sure what that phrase means. I've tried to figure out what that phrase means. I have no idea, and I'm not at Goldman, so I don't know what their model is at the moment. But when I was there was real long-term greed. Long-term, though. That was a phrase that one of the former heads of Goldman came up with, and I think it's a fair one. Would rather do right by we at the time. Goldman would rather, when I was there, do right by a client in the long run, as opposed to getting something that was right in front of us at the expense of that long run relationship. That's the Goldman that I knew when I worked there. I'm not there now. I know a lot of the guys, obviously, who are still there, but that mantra was there when I worked there.
What would you call the mantra of the financial industry as a whole? I mean, there's already seems to be another bubble coming up.
I'm not as worried about that, but I think there's no question in the last crisis, the financial industry made some mistakes. There's no question, and it was not.
Were people made responsible for it? I mean, I think there's not a single banker.
I don't know about that, but I think what I'd look to maybe more explicitly is, have we regulated ourselves after the crisis in a way that we probably should have had ourselves regulated before the crisis? And the answer is yes. When you do regulation, such as the regulations that we passed a couple of years ago, you always want to do two things. You want to make sure that what you just went through, you never go through again.
Exactly.
But you also want to make sure that you are properly anticipating what the next crisis will be, and that you're regulating also prospectively. Time will tell whether or not that's been done, but certainly we were not properly regulated. I think you could probably say that about the global financial industry, but certainly in the U.S., and I think we're in a much better place today.
And you put people in jail who were responsible for it.
Yeah, well, I didn't do anything, but
nobody went to jail. I mean, there were people, millions of people lost their homes or their savings, but nobody was made responsible, neither here in Germany nor in America. Do you think that's fair?
Well, you'd have to look at every case. I'm not a prosecutor.
Okay.
A lot of people in our system in the United States, if you pick up the paper every day, you'll see a lot of people getting taken into account for insider trading as an example, and that's something that we got to continue to be vigilant on. But I look to regulation as the key. Did we learn our lessons? With this regulation, could we have prevented the last crisis? And hopefully, can we prevent the next one as well?
All right, thank you.